Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. I want to continue a conversation about the role that we are supposed to play to try to guide humanity into a better or more ascended tomorrow. And, and a lot of this is connected to us guarding our own internal axis from being hijacked by distraction, external distractions that are being created by principalities, dark principalities in high places that are trying to capture our consciousness and stopping us from fulfilling our purpose and our mission. Now, I mean by that, in a sense, small mission that can transform into greater mission. And I will get into that in a second. But let's first talk about how we got our core and our axis. I had asked you to, for months now, to begin your practice on a daily to do the universal breath. We went over that in past classes, how to do the universal breath. And then beyond that, after the 12th breath in the morning, sit with yourself for like 5 minutes and try to understand, because the breath goes from the core of the earth and you exhale outside of your head and you release it into source. And then the reverse, after a pause, a retention of the breath, the reverse happens where you bring the breath from source, when you begin to feel goodness coming toward you, and you ground it, passing it through you to the bottom of your feet and ground it into the core of the earth. You do 12 of those cycles. I mean, six additional cycles for a total of 12 breaths. And once you're done, you're very aware of your center and you try to sit with it and listen as if the more than 50 trillion cells in your body had ears and they're all focusing on that core to try to understand what that core is trying to tell you. And sometimes when you're listening that attentively, it could be something related to your body, like change your diet, or something you should be eating that you're not eating now. And there are reasons for this. For example, right now we're experiencing a bombardment of solar flares. And when that happens, the EMP, the electrical magnetic pulse, and the plasma and the charged particle that are colliding with our own electrical grid will cause disruption. And therefore, it could be that there are certain kind of vitamins or there are certain kind of things you need to do. I have said to you of recent time that I am finding out that I'm not grounding correctly when I get up in the morning. When I'm in bed, when I get up, I try to stand up and I'm walking barefooted. Initially, I begin to feel like the bottom of my feet, it's not exactly sore, but it's not connected to the earth correctly. So what I've been doing is that when I do my meditation, instead of putting my house slippers, I walk barefooted. And when I go out on the waterfront to do my meditation later on, I take a long walk every day and I sit by my favorite bench to do my meditation. I take my shoes off, not weather permitting now. It's the summer. And so as such, I ground even more. Then sometimes when you're listening to the core, it tells you other things. Sometimes it's emotional, sometimes it's feelings that you're feelings that may not be your feelings. Sometimes you're picking up and empathizing what other people on the planet are feeling. Sometimes you are, and we should guard against that because many people on the planet are being, again, agitated by external events that those principalities are creating that may cause us to, if we're empathing, to go to vibrate in dissonance instead of holding within ourselves hope, kindness, love, acceptance, and mercy in our heart. So as I am Once that is done, again, or sometimes it might be that you're under attack. One of those principalities have compromised your boundaries, right? It could be all kinds of things, or it could be that you're absorbing the karma of another. I had that experience with my two friends, and they were having some sort of internal fight and it involves me of all things. They're always asking me questions, and the gentleman asked me a question, and I'm trying to answer, and the young lady, who's more spiritual than him, started smirking and smiling, and he got very upset. And next time I saw him, he said, I walked away. I got up and walked away because I was so upset with her. Why is she doing this to me? I know both were spiritual, blah, blah, blah. I said, I don't mind you asking me the same question 10,001 times. I said, it doesn't bother me because I'm not trying to change you. You're grown men. I've said this to you before. These two friends of mine, they're grown, they're adults. I'm not trying to change any of them. And so we had an understanding. I told them, ask me any question you want. I'm not, and I said, you were right. She was smirking at you. I observed it. You're a grown man. What you picked up was correct. So he left. So my friend arrived later, my other friend, a female arrived later, and I had a conversation with her. And I said, this is what he's feeling. He's very sensitive. He was upset. Why? She got upset initially. I said, let me just say this to you. I know you're upset because you're trying to make him stay quiet and listen and accept what I'm saying. I'm not trying to teach him. I'm not. He's grown. He's a Libra and he's very stubborn. He's not going to listen to me. He's 75 years old. He's not going to listen to me. It's not in my agenda to change him. The same way I'm not trying to change you. I said, you are trying to change him. That's why you're smirking, because you keep going back after I say something. Did you hear what Pierre said to you? Did you understand what? Let it go. Let it go. And the reason I'm saying this, I'm using this as an example, is because when you interfere with other people, because the thing with my female friend is that she's the kind of person on the street that's always running after every tourist. What are you trying? Where are you trying to go? She's trying to be helpful to everyone all the time. And in the process of doing this, she interfered with other people's karma. And I had to remind her of this. I said, he's making a choice. There's certain medical issue that this man is dealing with that he doesn't want to address. Although he told us the test and what he's doing, he doesn't want to address them. And he spoke to his family, said, I'm not addressing them. And then she was worried. I said, let it go. He's making a choice. He's grown. If he's making a choice not to go to the doctor, not to seek help, it's none of your business. Walk away. He's making a choice. He's a sentient being. Respect his choice. And that, my friend, is the way you don't pick up somebody else's karma. Because a lot of time when you're trying to interfere and trying to tell people and run, laps around them and trying to accommodate them by doing this for them and helping them with this and trying to figure out, as you're doing this, all of a sudden you have all these other problems that were not in your life before because you're taking their karma. You're absorbing their karma. So what I'm saying is that we should be very worried, or not worried, but we should be very cautious that, particularly if we're all givers, because we're all healers, that you're not, when you're in your core, whatever is disturbing your core at the moment is not because you're absorbing someone else's karma. Because a lot of time it's not your burden. It's because you're running after someone and you're trying to save them and rescue them, and it's none of your business. It's for them to figure out on their own. The same way God was able to reach you and change you and give you the insight that it's giving you now, God is capable of reaching them. But the timing of that action, of that outreach from God, is none of your business. You need to stay out of it. You pray for them, you release love toward them, and that's it, you walk away. Let them and God figure it out. You have to have non-attachment to this. Anyway, so, and sometime when we're in a call and we're doing this kind of like inner conversation, we wake up and all of a sudden everything is miraculously beautiful. Everything is open, everything is healthy, everything. And at that moment, you need to do very little. Now, the next step on this protocol, after you listen and to your call, is for you to now begin to do the torsion field. And sometimes I'm so aligned, my call is so aligned and so vertical that I need to do nothing. I try to start doing the torsion field. By the time to get to the fifth or sixth card again, I hear a voice said, the torsion field is already established. You don't need to continue. And I stop. Because I can feel the joy and the ecstasy and the connection to the divine inside of me. So those things, if you do them in the morning, and then if you make sure that your spiritual diet is not connected to letting yourself be consumed by the distractions of all the things that are going on in the world, the news media, the recycled stuff. If you're on mass media, there are all kinds of things that are being bombarded at you. The way the algorithm goes, if you listen to one thing that's about health, alternative health, they will bring you everything that's related to alternative health. If you're listening to one person channeling, they could have had a correct channeling and some of the other stuff could be completely distorted. They will bring you everything related to that person. So you need to be very careful that you carefully curate what you're exposing your consciousness with, because you don't want to be in a state of constant chaos and distraction. So I would be careful of that exposure. Guard your consciousness well, and that will help you have move toward the goal and the finish line faster and better. Now, it is true, by the way, any questions or comments? Okay. It is true that many of the these principalities are trying to agitate the world. They're busy causing all kinds of chaos, causing all kinds of agitations, and so on and so forth. Last week, we talked extensively about them. And I'm not going to get into all the details again. But I want to expand in certain concepts that I had introduced last time, which has to do with the way, the role we're supposed to be playing in the ascension of the planet, and also how do we entrain and broadcast the peace, the serenity, and the ascension that we know. Now, you're not going to be in that peace and that serenity 100% of the time. This is why I asked you before, after you do the universal breath, that you do a core self-awareness analysis. And as you do this, you're going to know whether you're aligned that morning or that day or that moment or not. And if you're not aligned, you do the torsion field to realign your consciousness, you surrender, and you will, and you do the intentional prayer. You all have received those 9 prayers from me. You do that. You read one of those prayers as a way to basically feed your consciousness a proper diet. A diet that's connected to love, to acceptance, because all these prayers were all connected to the transition. It's all prayers related to being in the right consciousness, not to empath other people's stuff, not to take other people's karma, to surrender, to allow God in, to let God's kingdom come. There are all these beautiful prayers, and I have and I'm going to publish them on my 3rd book as a separate, because I have more than 50 of them. I will publish them probably early part of next year as a separate book on themselves. But as it stands, if you do that every day, it will help you stay in a state of hope, of perpetual renewal, of acceptance. And it's funny, when I was telling you that my two friends were fighting with each other for the past 2 days on the waterfront, and the fight was related to me. That was the craziest thing. It's like one felt that the other one was not listening well enough to what I was saying and kept saying, "Did you hear what he said? Did you understand?" And I couldn't care less if this man listened or not listened to me. It would be great if he did, but he has his own life experience. He went to war, to Vietnam. He used to be a drug addict. He has all these other things that he's doing. He had 6 surgeries in his. He has his own thing. And I respect him because he's a good man. And I accept his friendship for what it is. And I remember in talking to them, one of them separately, the other one separately, and back and forth like that, I'm thinking to myself, I love them both unconditionally. And I just don't want them to fight over something that I don't really care about. My other female friend who's was worried about him not listening, I told him, I don't have a problem with him listening or not listening to me. I'm not offended. Today she apologized to me. She said, "You come here to find peace and I'm creating all this drama for you. I apologize." And I'm like, no, it's okay. It's okay. We're all learning from each other. It's by the friction between us that we polish ourselves. So if there was no, we can agree to disagree. It's okay for people to have different opinion. And in fact, if I teach a class and I'm not teachable for you to ask a question that made me think about something I didn't think about before, that teach me something, I'm doing something wrong. So when I'm talking to someone else that has a different opinion, that says something, I actually listen. I told you my gift is in listening. So I'm not trying to talk over them. I'm not trying to convince them. I present information, and then when they speak, I go in listening mode, and I allow them to express whatever it is that they express. And sometimes I ask them questions to clarify, and as I clarify, all of a sudden something opens up, and there's a pocket of information that they discover or that we discover together. And I'm like, I understand where you're coming from. But what about this part? Did you understand that there's a part there? Oh, yeah, you're right, Pierre. And then we're okay. I didn't change their mind. The greatest thing about all of this? No one can teach anyone anything. And until you understand this, you will not stop trying to interfere in other people's business and be a nosy body. No one can change anyone. The only thing you can change is yourself and be the change that you're trying to tell your friends and your family to become. This is the way you teach them. You become the change. And I remember sitting even today, this morning, I sat next to them. They were not at the same time because the other one of them was doing something else, and the gentleman had to leave to go somewhere else. And I remember thinking to both of them, I have compassion, love, and mercy for the both of them. It's not that one is wrong and one is right. Both of them are trying to learn, like I'm trying to learn. And we're all wobbling along, bumping into each other, trying to figure it out. I have mercy for myself. I have mercy for them. I have compassion for them, the same way I'm providing that mercy and compassion toward myself. And if you can get yourself to that point, you will stop being obsessed with trying to save and rescue and change people. There is a planetary plan, there's a planetary rescue, but it's not you doing a ceremony or ritual. It's not you doing a meditation and this and that or the other. It has nothing to do with this. It's about you being in some profound acceptance of your humanity and your vulnerability and your fragility. And understand it to such a deep core and still love yourself for being imperfect. And if you can do this for yourself, you can love others, like my two friends, that are also imperfect. As I said, we're all wobbling along. And that mercy and that compassion is at the core of God's love. And when you're that way, you embody it and you radiate it out. And it becomes you become the great attractor. You become a beacon to which everyone, there's a place in the universe they call the great attractor, that it seems that all of these stars are moving toward. And it's a gigantic area where there are no stars in the middle of it, but it seems that everyone is moving. They call it the great attractor. So that's why I'm using this term in cosmology. You become the great attractor because that point that everyone is moving toward is actually the love of God. We have to become the embodiment of that love. We have to become the embodiment of that mercy. But for that to happen, we have to be merciful to ourselves. We have to accept our flaws. We have to accept our idiosyncrasies. We have to accept our brokenness. And to the degree that we accept and we completely are yielding to that, and we still love ourselves, it's to the degree we can extend that same kindness to others. And instead of trying to change them, we simply look at them as a work in progress. Any questions, any comments? Now, for a moment, I want to talk about from that point of vulnerability, from that point of self-acceptance, or when we're in that state, and as you keep doing your daily dialogue with your core, your daily conversation with and that core, by the way, is the God within you. It's the God of your heart and it's the God of your understanding. And that daily dialogue will allow you to have an intimate connection to that God. And as you do this, there's going to be a point in certain literature, they call it the mighty I am presence or the monad. It doesn't matter. It's that kind of like inner conversation. And at some point, as you're having this conversation, you're going to get to a point where you begin to realize that there's going to be moments where the information that are brought to you is going to be expansion. The best way I can describe the expansions is that it feels like you're touching pure ecstasy. It feels like you're touching pure joy. And those typically occur when you have some sort of struggle or difficulty that you're dealing with in your life. Because, by the way, the distraction by these principalities will test you. And they will create chaos at some level, either in your health, in your work relationship, in your family, in your housing, and it will create some sort of chaos somewhere that's going to be so loud that it will truly test you to your core. Everybody, but particularly for us who are dedicated to doing this work of guidance of humanity, of broadcast. Remember, it's broadcast, it's entrainment. It's not doing the work for them. It's broadcast, it's entrainment. It's a vibratory radiation of something, of a feeling or a higher emotion. So this, if we're dedicated to this work, the dweller will face you. The dweller on the threshold. You will come face to face with the dweller, and the dweller will touch you, or if it can't touch you because you're too well protected, it will actually attack what you love the most, whether it's your money, your family. It will attack what you love the most, and it's at that moment that you're going to be really tested. Is your faith and your mercy, your state of being in that vulnerable core, and being, and more importantly, the mechanic of taking your burden, what is of your greatest fear, and taking it and bringing it into source. When you do the breath control, when you go in connection with the Guardian Alliance of Light, can you take your burden, inhale very deeply, and surrender all of it into God, instead of going spinning around trying to chase your tail like a crazy dog? Can you allow God to take the burden away from you? And if you can do this, you're going to move into a different state of awareness. That action of being unburdened, particularly as you take the breath from the core of the earth, let the breath pass through you, take the burden out, and as the breath is released past your head and you go back into source, and you let go and you release the burden completely. You exhale, you let it go. No matter how much your mind and your consciousness is trying to fix it and repair it, you realize this is too big for me. It is not my responsibility to fix, do, or repair anything. God, you got the wheel. Take it away. And the degree that you can abandon and be non-attached and you can surrender it, you are now being expanded. Because the moment you let go completely, the blessed field will touch your soul. God will reach out to you and you will feel a series of, it's very hard to put into words. It will feel like waves of benevolence, kindness, and all kinds of wonderful and almost undescribable sensation that will touch your heart and your soul. And when that happens, you're being blessed. You're being touched by ecstasy and joy and mercy. At that moment, take a very deep breath. Inhale in, let all of that mercy. This is when you take the second breath, when you go into that space and you release everything into source. And then when you feel that benevolence and that kindness, you take the breath back in. And you bring it into your core. And if you can do this, it will change a lot of things about your life dramatically. Because there's two ways your consciousness. So as you keep doing this, let's say you're doing this for a good 3 minutes, 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. You're inhaling and exhaling, and you keep releasing any burden you have, and you let go, surrender completely. And then when you feel the goodness, you bring it back in. There are two ways in which the blessed field can react to your consciousness when you do this. The first way is that it expands you into ecstatic, vibratory and ecstatic joy. It begins to heal and repair you. You begin to feel all kinds of wonderful things are happening in your heart. Wherever was physically paining you expands. All kinds of things begin to shift for you. Secondly, the second way it can inspire you is that at that very moment, as you're inhaling and exhaling, surrendering all of this, Spirit guide you into taking action. You need to do X, Y, Z. You need to call this person. It's so funny because a lot of times, as I'm doing my breath or my release and I'm surrendering, sometimes I hear something that's related to one of you. Sometimes it comes in my dream, but a lot of times it's dream meditation. I hear you need to speak to so-and-so and remind them what they should be doing. And this is what's going on in their life. And at that moment, I usually have a pad next to me. I open my eyes, I write down, because a lot of time, there's many of you, a lot of time, many inspiration come during that moment. I have to write them down because otherwise I'm going to forget the first or the second one by the time the fourth or the fifth comes. So I write them down. And then when I'm done with my connection, I then call these people and to remind them, to tell them, I got a message for you. And this is what Spirit told me to tell you. Okay? Because ascension is a thin line that exists between doing and surrendering. So when you connect so deeply and so profoundly in that space, there's a part of you that's going to be in pure ecstasy, because when you unburden yourself, the feeling is that you were carrying a heavy load. And as you unburden and you release, you're finally at rest. And the other sensations or feelings that it may show up for you is that the opposite, aside from being at rest, it could be that you are in a state of stillness, meaning everything, no sound. You're so unburdened and so free and so liberated that you're disoriented. You have no sense of north, south, east, west, up, down, and you're so disoriented that everything is blank. The way I experience when I go in that deep, that profound state, it's a white space. It's an incredibly white volume. There's white luminosity everywhere. But I don't have a sense of up or down or any direction. And I can feel this immensity around me, all around me. And then everything is still, completely still. And then sometime when I'm in that stillness, I hear things sometime that are about friends, family members, students. Sometimes they are about the mission and the purpose, insights, breakthroughs, information about the next piece I need to teach. Everything that I have taught you since 2008 came from my connection to that very principle I'm teaching you right now. Everything whatsoever. Whether it was the torsion field, the universal breath, all the technique, everything came from there. All the channeling and the prayers, they came from that connection. I am giving you, in a succinct way, the abridged version of what I do to connect to God. And as such, when I am in that connection where I'm completely unburdened and surrendered, I become a witness to myself. I'm witnessing my own consciousness in this white space. And in that state of detachment from my own consciousness and my own ego, I begin to shift in very dramatic ways. And all kinds of awarenesses, knowledge, information, insights, breakthroughs come in either as a wave of complete knowing all at once or drip by drip by drip on a daily basis. I get one piece like a beads on a necklace, and the next day I got the second piece and the third. And by the time several days or a month pass, I got a whole thing that I can teach. Any questions, any comments? So the idea of being in that space, I'm going deeper. I know what I'm saying is deeper. I'm going to go even deeper. So the idea of being in that call, in that connection to my own God, and being a witness to myself. Listen carefully to what I'm saying. Typically, you're a witness to someone else, but you're so non-attached to everything else that exists in the universe, and even to, you see, when you're in that state, if you're really unburdening yourself, you're unburdening everything. Your connection to your family, your friends, your lovers, your home, your money, yourself, you're being so non-attached to everything. You're unburdening everything, that you're surrendering everything that there is, that you get to a point you're a witness to your own ego. Because even that you're surrendering to God. And if you can do this, your true identity, at first it's a very strange territory to be in. I don't mind to tell you, because your consciousness is shifting in ways that's like so extraordinary and so deep and so profound that it's very difficult to explain. But if you can do this, what's going to happen is that over time, you will be capable of connecting so profoundly to your own core that, because in the process of that surrender, it's the idea that Descartes in his meditation, when he was writing his meditation, did something similar. He wrote, maybe the church is trying to deceive me. And he was, I remember the time Descartes was living in, it was during the medieval time. So I'm erasing the church. The king is there to deceive me. And he erased everything, and he got to a point where he erased God, even God. And after he erased everything, he says, okay, no, I think I'm going insane with this train of thought. And then he then continued and said, the only thing that I'm aware of is that I think. And this is where that famous phrase, I think, therefore I am. And he rebuild the world from that standpoint of I think. That's the only thing I'm aware of. So from if you keep doing this, you're going to get to a point where, as you release and surrender in such profound way, because all of these things are construct that we attach to, that create identity. I'm a mother, I'm a giver, I'm a son, I'm a husband, I'm the provider, I'm a healer. I'm here for planetary rescue. All of these things, or construct, or attachment, or stories we're telling ourselves to hold an identity of who we think we are. But who you think you are is not who you are. Your true core and identity is not what you think it is. We are masters of self-deceit, and we lie to ourselves all the time. But you keep surrendering, I release and I let go. I release all attachment, fears, and control, and I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. And as you do this, you release all the attachments. My attachment to who I think I am, my attachment to my family, my attachment to my job, my attachment to my home, my attachment to my church, my attachment to my nation, my attachment to my money, my attachment. I'm release all attachment. And as you're releasing and releasing and releasing, and you release all of it, all that's left is that you're witnessing the white space, and you're in a state of rest. And then now you're going to release your ego that's observing the white space. And if you can do this, you get to a place where the unknowable God, Yod-Heh-Vah-Weh, exists. It is the primum nobile, the first cause, the unmoved mover. Because when you are initially enter the white space, let me explain. When you initially enter the white space, in Tibetan Buddhism, that white space, they call it the luminosity, the emptiness, the indivisible emptiness and luminosity. But when most of us enter that space, we still see ourselves as separated from that luminosity. In Tibetan Buddhism, it says very clearly that that white space that you're seeing, that immense volume where you can release all of your burden, is actually your true spiritual body. It's you're looking at yourself. But when I go in that space, most of the time, I see myself, or I witness my awareness separated from the white space. But if I can let go of my ego in the white space, and I can unburden myself, or even of that ego, or that identity of the ego, I can now become one with the luminosity. Does that make any sense?
Of course, yes.
I know some deep and profound principles. And I'm leading into something, and what I'm leading into is this. Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? Because all the things you thought you are, I'm a Capricorn, I'm a Libra, I'm a Scorpio, I'm a mother, I'm from Haiti, I'm from, I'm an American, none of it is who you really are. I'm a healer, I'm a star seed, I'm a shaman, it's all construct that are designed to clip your wing. It's a mask that you're wearing. It's not it's not dharmata, it's not the essence of your being. You need to go deeper. And to the degree that you can accept your identity as just luminosity, as just radiance, as just kindness and love, as just mercy, to the degree that you can accept all of this is to the degree that you will begin to shine into your true purpose. You cannot be who you are until you can, because a lot of it is connected to undeservedness. We have all these smaller, it's Zerapin, it's the idea of the little face of God. We have these smaller version and masks that we wear to explain, to make ourselves small, because we don't want to accept the big thing. It's too big, it's too immense. So we make excuses. We reduce ourselves. It's an inferiority complex. We make ourselves smaller from what we really are. Because if that luminosity is me, and Tibetan Buddhism said it very well, if you can recognize that the luminosity is you, like this, you become enlightened. Because recognition and enlightenment are one. So as you go even deeper and deeper into that exercise of, so when you're connecting and you're conversing with your core after you've done all this practice and you're in that state of ecstasy, you should be moving, I release all attachment, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. And every time I repeat this, I think of all the attachments, the fear, and the control that relates to one part of my life. Whether it's me as an architect, me as a teacher, me as a rescuer, me as I release all of it. Me guiding humanity into the new earth. That identity, I'm releasing it as well. I'm releasing everything. And everything, and as you truly release and you take exhale and you let go, there's gonna be the field, the blessed field will respond by creating a vibratory healing that you will feel that will enter into your body. To shift your consciousness in such a deep and profound and dramatic way that it will surprise you. And as I said, the ultimate thing is to be a witness to our own selves, to our own ego. Once you've stripped everything else that you're attached to, this is why in Tibetan Buddhism, enlightenment is non-attachment to everything, to even your identity, to even to your ego. And once you can do this, you become the essence of your being. Your true purpose will begin to rise. And you will finally know who you are. I had this experience where multiple times during meditation over the past couple of weeks, 2 weeks ago, I kept hearing over and over again, who do you think you are? What's your identity? Who do you think you are? And the reason I'm going that deep with you, it's because the power, and I'm not talking about force, I'm talking about the power, because force is might. It's sheer might and sheer brute strength. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking because there is power in mercy. There's power in kindness. There is power in gratitude and compassion. There's no force in any of them. And or in love, there's power in love, but there's no force in it. So, from a perspective of having the power to entrain and broadcast the liberation that you're going to feel when you become a witness to your own self, it can only happen when you get into that state of being that witness. And when you're there, suddenly everything is, it's a mere thought you create. Because at that moment, you're not separated from the luminosity. Because at that moment, when you witness your own self, you become God.
Can I just voice a question that's a little bit unclear even in my own mind? This is so profound, yet when I think about occasions of moving into this white space and the sublime emotional feeling that that brings, yet unless it's been preceded by a letting go or a surrendering of all attachments and fears and control, it is not the final state, apparently. In order to achieve what you describe as even more, I guess, sublime, you need to do the surrender. But how do you surrender more if you've surrendered and you're not reaching that nirvana?
Well, you start where you are. It's one foot in front of the other, right? I know what I'm describing is very abstract for you because, but some of you have touched the white space, so you know what I'm talking about. So the idea is that when you're in that white space, you have to be very aware that you're still, although when I'm in there, I don't have a body, but I am very aware that I exist as separate from the white space. So it's I, and then there was this immense volume with all of this goodness in it. And the reason for this is because I still identify as my ego as myself. So the idea, it's not going to happen overnight, Janice. Trust me on that, okay? So it's to the practice on a daily basis to keep surrendering and letting go of my identity as a Black man, as a starseed teacher, as a whatever it is that I'm calling myself these days, as Bambi, as Ursula the Witch, as whatever it is that I'm calling myself. And I need to let go of all of them.
So does saying you let go, let it go? I mean, is it as simple as saying it? Is there something?
Yes, you have to keep, it's like, it's 21, well, if you keep repeating something for like 2 months or 3 months in a row, it will, particularly something that profound and that deep, it will begin to it will create a major shift in your core.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
And one final question.
Yes.
I guess what I was also asking was if I've experienced the white space without doing this surrender, have I reached the white space that you speak of?
Only you can answer that.
I okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Is my white space adequate? I guess is my unknown question in there. I don't feel that of course I'm a sovereign in this as you are. I have experienced this state of bliss, yet I haven't gone through the surrender that you speak of. So that makes me question whether I experienced.
No, Janice. No. Initially, okay, I'm sorry. I'm giving you the wrong impression. I'm making it seem that the moment you get there, this happens automatically. In fact, most people, the first time they get there, they pass out.
Mhm.
They actually think that I slept. I don't know what happened. I went blank.
Yes.
Most people, when they get there the first time, they pass out because it's a very the consciousness and the awareness is so different than 3D consciousness that most people are not capable of entering it without losing consciousness completely. And it's over time that you adjust and you begin to feel and acclimate yourself to it. And let me just say to you that that state of surrender and being unburdened, you have to actually desire it. Now, what the white space does to me when I'm in it is that I feel at rest. That the initial thing is just rest and in complete stillness. Is that no other thought, everything is gone. But the surrender is me actively saying, I am not fill in the blank. And I surrender and I keep surrendering whatever I think I am. I release all attachments, feels, and control related to me thinking that I am, the savior of the world. I am a teacher. I'm here to herald the new earth. I surrender all my attachment to all of this. Maybe that identity, that whole thing is a lie I'm telling myself. We're all masters of self-deceit. I release it and I let it go. And I keep repeating, and I take the deep breath as I do this and let it go. And as I release and let go, take the deep breath, I can feel as I go to the retention of the breath, something else comes in. Something beneficial, something healing comes in. I don't know what it is because I don't have the vocabulary, the language to describe it, because we're talking about fourth and fifth dimensional, or if not even higher consciousness. I don't have a language to describe it, but I can feel a goodness, a benevolence.
So I think then I would just wrap this up and put a little bow on it and say, continue the process, because behind mountains are more mountains. What is yours?
Yes, that's it.
So what you think of as being a state of bliss is probably on a scale that extends beyond what you understand at the moment. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Because when you enter into the white space initially, it's only the beginning.
Mm.
It's only the beginning.
Yes. That's the thought I just had to. Okay, got it. Thank you.
It's only the beginning. And as you sit with it and open yourself up, and I have to actively practice, and it took me a while to figure out that my identity, because I kept hearing the word identity. And I'm like, okay, so if I'm not Bambi, if I'm not Ursula the Witch, if I'm not Zorro, if I'm not Superman, who am I? And then I had to release all of these things. You know what I'm saying? Whatever that identity is, and the burden and the responsibility connected, because I spent most of my life trying to bring everybody together, the bridge toward the new earth, blah, blah, blah. Maybe that identity is all false.
Mm.
And I'm going to surrender all of it into God. I'm going to let it go.
So did you get an answer to who am I?
Well, I'm going to get into this because, you see, I described last week 2 techniques to you on how to broadcast. First one, I'm going to do. The second one, if I do it, I'm going to disrupt the internet like I did last week. So I got to be very careful, okay? We're either going to freeze or the screen is going to become blurry, or all kinds of things are going to happen. It's because, again, I've surrendered so much of my identity. Because the first one, when you're in that space where you feel the benevolence coming in because you've let go of so many things, you're going to be so open and so unburdened and so liberated that if you want to share that broadcast, that vibration and that frequency to someone else, all you have to do is think of them. It could be everyone in your circle of influence or someone specific that you're trying to heal or repair. And you need to get their permission before you do this. That's extremely important. And then you say aloud or silently to yourself, when you're in that space, may the peace and the serenity that I know pass on to the peace, the serenity, the liberation that I know, pass on to, and then you name the person, or you think of their image or where they are. Or if it's everyone in my circle of influence, everyone in my circle of influence. And then when you say pass on, you see a projection of that radiating out from you and going into them. But those words are a decree. They are not just you saying, Mary had a little lamb. It's a decree. And it's a command to the entire universe. And when you say this, particularly when you're in the state of dharmata, the universe obeys. Because at that state, you're in complete certainty. The reason you're releasing all these identities, because these identities are variant of yourself. They are fragmentation of yourself. And each fragmentation weakens you as a spiritual being. And when you release all of them, your core, who you are, your antakarana, becomes complete and closed and one. And when you decree it, and you release this decree, may the peace, the serenity, and the liberation that I know, and when you say pass on, you see like expanding from you and going into them, or pass on, you see your core going into them. The moment that happened, like this, the person receives it, and if they're on the phone with you, or if they're near you, you'll hear them go, oh, when that happened, they will sigh, because it will penetrate them, and what the expansion that you know will go into them. That's a broadcast, that's entrainment. By decree and by command. Any questions, any comments? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. But if you're fragmented and you're constantly wanting something, and your undeservedness is telling you, you're a fraud, you're a liar, you're not who you think you are. If you think you're Bambi, you think you're Zorro, you think you're Superman, you're none of the above. If all of that is going on in your subconscious mind, when you declare this, it's going to be weakened. This is why you're surrendering all of this stuff. Because when you now decree it, you have to understand, the laws of nature obey when you're in that state of declaration. I'm not talking about screaming loud like an actor on stage. I'm talking, you could be whispering or silently emitting emitting this from your core. Any questions, any comments? The second part, I'm going to repeat, but I'm not going to do it with a hand gesture because the last 2 times I did this on the internet, I disrupted the feed because I'm broadcasting. I've healed quite a bit. I'm not perfect yet, but I've healed quite a bit, and it comes very strong, and I don't want to disrupt the broadcast. I need you to write this down. You're going to say, "Be gone, time and space." I'm going to show you separately what you need to do in a second. You're going to say, "Be gone, time and space." It's one sentence. Be gone, time and space. What you're doing when you're saying this is that you're banishing in one sentence everything that exists in time and space, and you're entering basically the throne room of God. This is Melchizedek and celestial magic. Be gone, time and space, and then you're gonna use your. I'm gonna try to do it. Okay, I hope I don't mess up anything. I'm gonna do it from the profile because if I do it at the screen, it's gonna disrupt your feed. I'm gonna blast you. So be gone, time and space. 3 times. Be gone, time and space. And when space arrives, I project my hand out, and as I project my hand out, I see my Antakarana, my core that's now restored, moving from me and being projected in the middle of the room, wherever I am. Okay? It projects out. My restore access, the white space. Here we go. The screen is blurred again. I'm sorry. The white space. That is when you're in Dharmata, when you're in the white space. I see it in my head at the gone time and space, and I project it, and it's there. It's in the room. And then I take very deep breath. My hand is still extended in the same position. I'm not moving it. The core is outside. It's in the middle of the space. And I see the Guardian Alliance of Light coming in, creating 12 torsion field around that core in that entire space. And in an instant, by the time that the last Guardian creates the last torsion field, every point where I am has been restored into neutrality. The universe is seeking one thing and one thing alone: to balance and restore equilibrium in all things. And what you're doing by doing this, to explain it in a deeper, it's theurgy, which is ceremonial magic. It's like Gandalf holding his staff at the bridge of Khazad-dûm in the first Lord of the Ring, where he said to the demon or Belrock, "You shall not pass," and stroke his staff on the rock. And the demon fell into the pit. The staff and your Antakarana and the axis and the core, your core, is the same thing. In fact, the magician's staff is a symbol of his own core. You don't need the staff. The staff is for show. You can project it anywhere. Moreover, you have in the tree of life, you have the tree supernal, you have Kether at the top, number one. Number two is Chokmah, and then you have Bina. Chokmah, Kether is a dot. Chokmah is a line, and the magical symbol for Chokmah is a magician's staff. That staff represents what is called the measure of God in ceremonial magic, which means what? If you were to take an arrow in the universe, in all universe and any other universes, if you were to take an arrow or a bullet and you were to shoot it, because everything is circular in the universe, if there was no gravity and no friction, that bullet would travel and come back and hit me back in the back. When a magician strikes their staff and projects it anywhere, they create a circle that becomes a measure of God, where they create a command, like you shall not pass, or give me safe passage. Or in this instance, may the peace and the serenity that I know pass on to you. Something simple. Be at peace. It's nothing, it can't be a convoluted thing. It has to be so simple that even if you're a coma, you get it. And let the torsion field be created. Let the support come from the throne room of God through the 12 intersecting, nested torsion field, and let the energy drop into the room.
It's a good question, Pierre, because I want to make sure I haven't misunderstood. Last week, I asked the question about how many times you do this, beyond time and space. And last week you said just once is enough. But,
yes.
But you're suggesting 3 now. What's the difference?
No. You close your hand 3 times. Beyond time and space.
And just do that once then?
Yes. And then you extend your hand out. Yes.
Oh, okay. So when you said 3 times, it's each
your hand you open 3 times.
Okay.
Okay? Beyond time and space. It's your hand you open 3 times.
So you don't do the full set 3 times?
No. Just your hand. Beyond time and space. You do it once. And then you project it out. And when I'm projecting it out, my entire core moves out and goes into the space.
Okay, thank you.
And at that point, in one sentence, I'm in the throne room of God. This is your real identity, Janice.
That's what I was thinking. If you wanted to really surrender your false identity, shall we say?
Yes.
That this would be the vehicle. Perhaps in addition to what you're saying about surrendering attachments, fears, and control, and entering the white space, this maybe does it as well?
The best way I can describe it, this is a way for me to demonstrate it externally for me. Because the way, okay, all of these other practice and exercises for me to be to a place where my consciousness is unified so that I can demonstrate this. Do you see what I'm saying? No?
In what way do you mean?
What I mean is that I'm doing all this exercise and I'm releasing all this, all the identities, who I think I am. I'm not this. I'm doing all of this because I want to restore my core as one. Because each identity is a variant or a fragment for me. If your core is a tree trunk, think of each identity as somebody taking a sharp knife and cutting the tree trunk and creating a splinter from it. Do you understand? When you let go of each identity, that splinter returns back. You become whole.
Got it. Thank you. And what do you mean by the beyond time and space?
It's
able to
me
demonstrate
demonstrating it to myself and to the world.
in the sense that
I'm externalizing it.
ah,
As I'm in meditation, I'm praying, I sense it, I feel it internally. But if there is a crisis in the world, in my life, and I told you how I've used it before, like if I walk into a space or a room where there's a lot of negative energy, instead of doing a whole ceremony to try to remove it, I can remove all of it in 12 breaths. And when you're just saying be on time and space, your hand is extended, and you see the guardian creating it. First guardian, call the earth, move it out, create a torsion field. I inhale as the guardians are going through. And then the second guardian, exhale, the energy goes and the torsion field gets created. Second guardian comes in clockwise. And I continue like this until it's all complete.
okay.
Okay? I actually breathe with it.
I
I'm not doing the torsion field at that moment. The guardian is doing it.
so
I
what
just follow along with my breath.
so maybe what I was doing in the breathing with the torsion field is breathing in up until the crown chakra and then out to source.
Yeah.
So exhale at that point, but not continuously inhaling through to source. Is that
No, you're correct the first time. Inhale until you get outside of your head and then release it. Yes, you're correct.
oh okay, gotcha.
You're correct. And as you do this, what's going to happen is that as you follow it, everyone that's in the room, particularly when your other identities have been released and you're returning back into yourself, everyone that's, if you do this in front of people, they will actually begin to feel the whole room, molecule in the room. If I remember doing this upstate, this is years ago with a discrete my council, we're doing a retreat and I did this. The whole room, the floor began to shake.
Mm.
Molecules, everything is being rearranged. Every one perception in the room will change. I did it once. I remember I was teaching here many moons ago, and I did it in the room, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, I could feel this immediately. What did you do?" Now, after doing this, if you have an intention for so let there be peace, you can release it in the space. You can broadcast it. Be careful with this. This is the caution. If it's coming from the mean-spirited, vengeful, or battle connection, you're going to get hurt by this. You cannot battle using this. Because the energy that grounds it, remember, you're the grounding rod from the Guardian Alliance of Light to anchor neutrality. If you're battling with somebody and you're doing this because you're fighting with them and you want to stick them something, you're going to get hurt. Any questions, any comments? All right, let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll do a closing meditation. 5 minutes. Just before we get started, I want to mention one final thing. When you're saying beyond time and space, space-time or time and space is one of the forces, fundamental forces of that exists in the quantum field as waves. A fluidic field like magnetism is another wave that exists in the quantum field. There are 18 of those waves, and gravity and space-time is just one of them. When you say beyond time and space, you're banishing gravity and all of the power it has on the 3D world. This is what you're doing with the ceremonial side, or this ceremonial, the theoretical experience. You're banishing gravity out, and you're opening yourself up to the other 17 fields to benefit you and the people you're trying to protect. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your mind and your heart sync with each other. And notice what you noticed. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And
I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. Listen. Listen as if the more than 50 trillion cells in your body had ears. What kind of insights, knowing, that your call is trying to tell you. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I become aware of all my false identities and belief system. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachment, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. May I become a witness to myself. I release all attachments, fears, and control. And I surrender into the great emptiness and endless luminosity. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Hosanna into the highest. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you. Thank you, Pierre.
You're welcome, judges. I want to thank all of you for listening to me tonight and for being in the class. I want to thank everyone on Patreon who's supporting us. Thank you for watching us on YouTube. Like this video, subscribe. I will talk to all of you next week. Thank you. Blessing to you.
Good night, everyone. Love you.